Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android, or recommend Spotify. Also, check out the 5 Reasons YouTube channel for all your South Florida sports content. Also, Off the Floor, that's our Discord server. That's subscribers. You can join. You can be in there with us as we're at the games, giving you information there before we put it anywhere else. The most heat, information, and conversation, 10 different channels plus stage shows. We call it Off the Floor, $2.99 per month. You can cancel at any time. And we're giving you the link so you can bypass the Apple upcharge. So check it out. It's Off the Floor, the most heat anywhere. Also, PrizePicks, use the code 5, F-I-V-E. Put down your $5. You get $50 in lineups. Those will be on the Explore page, legal in the state of Florida. PrizePicks is the official daily fantasy sponsor. Get in there for the NFL right now. Of course, NHL and NBA are coming up. You can play that as well. You can mix between the sports. Go to prizepicks.com, the Google Play Store, or the Apple App Store. But make sure to get your bonus. Use the code F-I-V-E. And now, today's episode.
Uh-oh. Yeah. It's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation. We the culture. Yo, E, I need you to call timeout. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket. Open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pick. Still 5 on the floor. Still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court. Still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball. Or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleepy paths or allowed to morning. The nut is sleeping us. Never catch us snoring. Live from Miami. Report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the court to the streets. Yeah. Wake County, Heat Nation, we say it proudly.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. I got Alex Toledo. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. Also in this episode, after he and I are finished speaking to Javier Iglesias from Real Estate Shoppe, we did a fun little exercise with 10 all-time great Miami Heat players. So stick around for that and see if you agree with us. I know a lot of you may not. Well, he and I didn't really agree. But anyway, we're going to put that on this particular episode. All right, so it is almost training camp time. The Heat are going to camp with their roster as it is, but it doesn't mean we can't speculate and have some fun. Malik Monk is a name that's come up recently, and the reason his name has come up, is because the Warriors are trying to figure out what to do with Jonathan Kuminga. This has been going on all offseason. It doesn't seem like they want to pay him. He thinks he's like a number one option or something like that. He didn't go to – Jimmy Butler had a mini camp for Warriors players. He never did that with the Heat. Had a mini camp for Warriors players over the past few days, and Kuminga was the only Warrior, a prominent Warrior, who wasn't there. And the Warriors, again, are trying to move him, and one of the teams that seems to have interest in him, and this is just perfect because he's just such a perfect Sacramento King, is the Kings. And in that trade, Malik Monk would be used, or his salary would be used to make a trade happen. But the Warriors reportedly don't really want Monk because they have, a bunch of other guards. I mean, they have Steph among others and Pods and others, and there's not really the playing time for him, even though I think he's better than some of the guys that they have. And so we were like, okay, wait a second. Now, Tyler Herro is going to be out for a month of the season, training camp plus a month roughly. Bam played with Malik Monk in college. This is another of these Kentucky guards. And I resurrected his career because I said he was the only Kentucky guard that didn't work out. And on the night I tweeted that he had 37 against the Heat and has been good ever since. So you did a little exercise for the Sports Illustrated site, what this could look like if the Heat decide to get involved. I would want to be clear. We're not saying they are getting involved, but this is the kind of opportunistic trade that we want them to look at, like they did with the Norm Powell thing. So first thing, do you think it'll be a good move to investigate this on the Heat's part?
Investigate? Sure. Why not? Why not investigate right now? Once, like, what you're actually willing to do and how likely, it's just a different story. It just gets so complicated, man. It gets really complicated, but I guess I'll save that. But sure, they can investigate.
Okay, so it makes sense to investigate, and the reason it makes sense to investigate again is that the Heat need scoring, right? Like that's without Tyler for the first month of the season. Honestly, even when Tyler came back, you could make a case that you could find minutes for someone of Monk's caliber. Monk's other numbers. You mentioned this in the story. He actually has become a pretty decent playmaker, at least by the stats over the past couple of years. He's not just a shooter, but the Heat don't really have a point guard. Davion Mitchell is kind of the stand-in point guard right now. Cass is not ready. We know that. Larson is can play up a little bit, can play some at the quote-unquote 3. And you know that Spo likes to play a lot of guards. So I'm of the mind that if you got Malik Monk, he'd find a way into the rotation even when Tyler and Norm are healthy, right? Yeah.
For sure he'd be in the rotation. I just think it gets tricky. And you mentioned this on the Discord where it's like, you better be damn sure about your front court defense. And also, I guess they'd be mixing in a lot of Davion and Drew somehow. So there's going to be a lot of, I feel like there's going to have small lineups, like just in general, because there'd be so many minutes to allot for Tyler, for Monk, and for Powell there. And then even without Tyler, I still think it's kind of tough. But it just feels like there'd be a little bit of a jam in the backcourt. And it gets even tougher because you'd want to play some of these other backcourt guys next to these guards. But as far as like a value trade, like I do think there's something. It seems like, according to Amic's reporting, that or is it Amick? I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm
Sam Amick, yeah. And Sam is one of the 5 or 6 NBA reporters I trust the most on sourcing. So
it seems like he's really tapped in with the King side on this, and I'm I'm not trying to denigrate him or anything like that. It just seems like a lot of the stuff he's getting is from their side, where like he said he put out their whole trade offer into the article. He put out the offer that they're going to give Kuminga, right? Like in the sign and trade, which I think he said was 3 for 63, right? So it just seems like he's got a lot from their side right now, and it seems like that's what the Kings are all in on doing. Just the fact that they're willing to give up Monk and a protected first round pick tells you that they really want Kuminga. Now, it gets a little tough because, you get into these weird sign and trade rules involving base year compensation. Right. And that it gets so easy to get tripped up in that stuff because, one team can only take back, like the salary outgoing doesn't count the same. The other way, it's like 50% as much. So it gets really complicated for, one team in the Warriors who is trying to stay below the first apron of the luxury tax with a move like this. And it was said in the story that Buddy Hield and Moses Moody are like guys that they could try to offload if they want to do that, but they don't want to do that. And so that sentiment has only grown stronger. So you've got the Warriors side of things with that, right? You've got the Heat who absolutely are not going to take in more salary than they're sending out because they are right there to the luxury tax line. And so that it just becomes like this puzzle that has to become a multi-team trade because of all these different factors.
Well, and again, the other puzzle, a part of this is, okay, what exactly are you giving up, right? And who would want what you're giving up? And this gets back to our conversations about Terry Rozier, because that is essentially the salary that would go, right? That to make this work. And we talk about the number when Kuminga is 21, but again, you're dealing with base year. Rozier would be the primary salary. I know there's other players that could be involved, but that would be the one, right?
Honestly, like that would be awesome for the Heat, right? But I don't know. I just think because like you can't send him to the Warriors because they're trying to drop money. I don't know that Sacramento wants him. So I just and like we talked about in other pods, like it's just such a terrible scenario, not only for him, but for anybody that would even have any sort of interest in acquiring him. I just think it feels like that it like his portion, like the part of any sort of scenario that sees him traded feels like those chances are so low. But especially when you account for the BYC stuff and the financial situations here, I don't know how Terry can be involved unless you're involving, other teams that we're not currently talking about.
Okay. So who would be involved? Let's say the Heat wanted to go get him. What is this scenario? I saw some other names. You had Fontecchio, you had Jaquez.
Those are the guys
pieces that could be put together.
Those were the guys that I was looking at just because, like you start to get into, who are guys that maybe the Heat would be willing to move, right? Like if you put together, like if there is another team involved here that we're not talking about, and if the Heat were to try to trade for Malik, I do think, Jaquez could have some interest for another team. Like this guy, he was literally an all rookie first team player a couple of years ago. So I think that makes some sense. And Fontecchio, is another cheap shooter who plays at the wing. Like I think it's like an easy, there's no crazy long-term deals. There's no balloon contracts like the current situation with Terry, where like you're just taking in this player who it's very, very little shot that he's going to be able to get anywhere near to that level of production, right? As far as like, matching the contract. So I put those two guys because they felt like kind of palatable names, whereas like Jovic makes the same amount of money as Jaquez in this next season, more or less. And, I put in the article that, I wouldn't throw him in there because he just seems like a very unlikely trade piece, even with like the whole, extension question. It seems like they like him. They need front court depth, right? Like it would just, and they need offense. So trading this guy who was all offense, front court player, it just doesn't seem like a likely trade piece. So like, as much as, like Terry would, like, I'm sure the Heat would love to trade Terry for Malik Monk. I just don't know how you could work him in here unless you can sort of trick Sacramento. But again, that doesn't even feel like a palatable strategy because they're over here trying to like working to get this Kuminga done. This Kuminga thing done so that they can go sign Russell Westbrook to be their backup point guard behind Dennis Schroeder, who they just acquired. And they already have other guards. Like it just, the Terry thing is just like, I don't even know where he could end up here.
The Sacramento thing is hysterical just because they had at one time on their roster, they had Halliburton, Fox, and Davion Mitchell. And now they're trying to put Westbrook behind Schroeder. And we're talking about the possibility of Rozier. It's just an organization, and they basically put the Bulls together again, a team that couldn't get past the 10 seed or the 9 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think it's unlikely. I think it's interesting to talk about. I think that the two questions here are: A, would it be easier if the Heat actually had some of their second round picks instead of having to have given them away in a variety of situations? Most recently, to pair, the salary sheet and the roster of Highsmith, which they gave up a second there. The second they got from the Nets is worthless, so it's not like you can pitch that one over and make anything happen.
It's almost already not real. Like it's as close to being not real. Did you see the Nets' potential starting lineup? Haywood's starting at the 2, okay? Like according to what was put out there today. Yeah, you're not getting that pick because that pick only like manifests. It would the Nets would have to have a top 5 record in that. It maybe after game 1 if they win their first game and then it just ends there. No, they're not. The Heat are never getting that pick, so they don't have, and they know that. So they don't have really anything to grease this. I guess that, and we'll close it. And they're not going to trade a first.
No, then they shouldn't. Absolutely should not. No. I mean, trading a first for Rozier was a disaster. You don't trade one for Malik Monk. I mean, you can make an argument that Rozier was more productive than Malik Monk was before they got him, although the circumstances are different. Monk was playing for a more competitive team than Rozier was, and I don't think Monk's going to forget how to play basketball or get involved in, whether it's his fault or not in an FBI investigation. I mean, look, the Rozier thing is like it was the worst of the worst, the way that it all played out. But you don't repeat it. You don't trade a first round pick for a guy who another team is trying to move. Like that's you just don't do that. But I guess the better question, and we can just close it here. If it came down to, if you could make the numbers work and somebody was interested in Jaquez, right? Would you move Jaime Jaquez's future for a year of Malik Monk and basically to cover Tyler Herro for a month, and then you're going to be figuring out where to put all these pieces, and then you may be extending norms, so then that creates even less of a path for Monk in the future. Not that Monk's an old player, but he's sort of in his prime years now. He's going to be out of his prime at some point soon. Like, would you trade Jaquez if it got you Monk? Are you? I guess the question is, are you that out on Jaquez?
Well, I think like value wise, it's a good thing. Like on its own, like it's a good trade in a vacuum, right? In the sense of like Monk was the far better player last year. But once you look into like just the context of the roster and the backcourt jam, I don't know if this is the move. Like I value wise, maybe there's something there because it's like this is a guy who is a very good player, has added a lot to his game, is not just a a chucker or anything like that. He became a very capable playmaker. A lot of times, like what they were doing was when Fox was on the bench, Malik Monk was the guy handling everything. And, so it's just a guy who has added to his game. And like you said, is kind of in the prime of his career. Like, he's going to make just under 19 mil next season. Then you've got him at 20 mil the season after that. And then he has a player option for the season after that at 21. So if you're trading for him, you're trading for the next 2, perhaps 3 years of Malik Monk, which is fine. But again, like when you're just putting him next to Herro, Powell, and this whole situation that the Heat have right now, I don't know if that's the move. Like I think it's something like it does. Part of it does kind of sound like a Heat move in a way, right? Like maybe like this is the guy where it's like, okay, maybe they just don't have a lot of faith that Jaquez is going to get back to that level. And they're just like, okay, let's just go for the guy that we know is going to be very good. Like we know who he is. He's not older, he's Bam's friend. We need offense, Kentucky connection, doesn't cost us a pick. Like some of it does sound like a Heat move, but I don't know if it's the right move. It might make them better right away, though. If that's what you're asking, I think it would.
I think it's a Heat move if they hadn't acquired Powell. I think
but it just makes it so much tougher to like balance out that whole roster.
Yeah, and I can see the thinking behind it. If you can move Rozier. If you can't move Rozier, and the deal is that you basically just stuck with a contract and essentially let it expire at the end of the season, and then and just say the whole escapade just didn't work out, then that's another thing. I guess the bigger question that we will get into as the season starts is, and there
would have to be somebody else involved there too, because just with Fontecchio and Jaquez starting her up like that,
it wouldn't work. Yeah,
the Heat would be over the tax, and I don't think they're going over the tax for Monk, even if they got him with value.
No, but the larger question here is, how are the Heat going to value Jaime Jaquez going forward? And I'm just wondering where he fits now on this team. He's going to have to show a lot in camp. We've talked about it. The path has been cleared. Highsmith is not in the picture anymore. That was another wing, quote unquote, who was getting some of those minutes. Tyler's not there. They need offense. They're leaning young anyway. So, Jaime is, and they obviously saw enough in him to make him a first round pick, and he was first team all rookie. So, but when I look at the other 3 guys we talked about on most recent pod, you weren't on that one, but I was on with Brady and Greg, and I asked the question. I said, if any of these 4 guys become a star, and by star I mean like a top 50 guy, okay, somebody be top 50 in ESPN, what's the most beneficial for the Heat if just one of these guys? And the question was where Kasparis, I'm not going to say his last name with you here, or Jovic or Jaquez. And one of the guys, Greg said where, but then both Brady and I said Kasparis, because I think that position, okay, to have a guy at that position matters more these days. Even though I think Jovic actually has the best chance of the 3, in my opinion. Okay, just because I guess I don't know. I see something in Nico, but I don't think that would have the most impact. I think if it was Kasparis, it would have the most impact. But the one that and then when we polled it, it's mostly where Jovic, Kasparis. Jaquez is the one. I don't know. I don't see the path to becoming that kind of impact player on this team in the league that makes such a difference. And I think if you're going to hold on to the young guys, I think even if Kasparis is way behind him, obviously in terms of development at this point, age also, of course, Ware and Jovic, to me, Jaquez is the odd guy out. And I actually think Jaquez is the odd guy out if you include Larson. I don't know. I know not everybody agrees with me on that. So that's why I'm saying, like, I could see him being used as the chip for a team that needs someone who can come in, score right away, has done some things in the league. You come out of the Heat system, so you believe he'll work. I just feel like he's going to end up being the piece that's moved. If someone's moved. I'm not that only one would, but does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's like those, you're basically saying they perhaps value the other guys more. If the trend continues with Jaquez, because really, man, like he was just flat out bad last year. Like I'm not trying to talk down on him, but offense, like it just wasn't there. He couldn't get by guys. He couldn't shoot the ball. Was being left wide open. The playmaking wasn't there because they kind of scouted out the most important part of his game, and the finishing just went off a cliff. Like what made him stand out as a rookie fell off a cliff. And the other side of it too, the defense. Like he showed some flashes as a defender as a rookie, and like I don't remember how long ago it was, but I went to go look at the on-off data for his defense last year because I didn't feel like it was like I don't remember a lot of moments last year where I'm like, wow, Jaquez is really like he was really guarding there, right? Mm-hmm. And the defense, it really fell off a cliff while he was on the court too. And those numbers held when I filtered out Terry, by the way, because that was just like a curiosity thing. I'm like, hey, let's see what it looks like without Terry on the floor because it was so bad for him last year. And it was the same thing. So Jaquez has a lot to prove this year on both ends of the floor.
But it's weird. It's weird though, because and I know maybe this invalidates some of these other numbers, but there's some numbers out there that showed that like Jaquez was like top 5 in the league in terms of defensive field goal percentage, which again is one of those for his position, which again is one of the reasons why I don't really trust that number necessarily. But it's not just it's everything you're saying, but it's also just generally. I don't think his position is as rare or as impact and thus potentially impactful as the other guys that we're talking about. To have a just take Ware for instance, okay? To have a we've seen like the impact that Derek Lively could have on a team, right? Like that type of vertical spacing, big with athleticism. Like there's still value for that type in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Like there as a lob threat and all that. Even if Ware doesn't develop the perimeter game and all that, but a shot blocker who's a lob threat, like there's value for that. Obviously, point guard, there's enormous value for the guy with the ball in his hands. And then Jovic, sort of the versatile guy who can do a little bit of everything and help play make, but also shoot from the outside at that size, at 6'11" and growing into his body. Right. Those three guys they all fill like archetypes that are valued in the NBA right now. The Jaquez archetype, sort of like the Herro archetype, by the way, okay, which we talked about, different archetype, but I don't think is as valued right now. And that's why I think if the Heat are looking to get a piece and some team is going to bite on what they still believe is his potential, I think he's the guy who goes. That's just a thought there.
The Jaquez thing, it's just like, at least with Herro, if he's off the ball, he's an awesome shooter. And maybe, you know, like there's still more you want from him as far as moving off the ball and incorporating more cutting and more movement off the ball for sure. But Tyler is an awesome shooter and is a threat. Yes. Jaquez is being left wide open, you know? And then if he can't get by guys,
what he does, right. We got to figure out what he does well.
Exactly.
What he does well. What is going to be the skill that pops for him? For all the criticisms of Tyler, there are a lot of things Tyler does really, really well. Jaquez is going to have to find that thing. You can't just be average at everything, and then that's okay. Like average as a spot-up 3-point shooter, average as a defender.
I wish he was average as a spot-up shooter.
Right. I know, or average as a finisher. Like you've got to find something that becomes your calling card. And I just think where we're so early with Kaspar's, but you can see the vision is elite.
The skill set.
Now whether the other stuff develops, we'll see. Right. Okay. And Jovic is above average at a bunch of things. To me, it's just about finding a niche for him. But I think that his overall archetype, which is rarer, but I think has value. I mean, he's not going to be Franz Wagner, but like that archetype that has a lot of value in the NBA right now. I don't know where it is that you go with Jaquez. But anyway, we got off subject, but it's an interesting topic because I'd be curious if Heat fans would give up the potential. What we believed was the potential of Jaquez for Monk. I think most would. I don't think the Heat are in position with what else they have to offer to actually make that happen, but it filled 20 minutes before training camp. Also, after this, stick around. We do something called Sponsors Corner here. If you want to sponsor the 5 Reasons Sports Network and 5 on the Floor, reach out to me. By DM on Twitter is the easiest way, or just show up in my apartment. Well, don't do that. And you can sponsor us as well. But this is our friend Javier. We only bring on the sponsors who know something about the Heat. I had some fun with Javier recently, just going through. We split into 2 teams. It was a meme on Twitter and Instagram where they split all-time 10 Heat players into 2 different teams, and we argue about which team would have won. And we'll see if the team with LeBron would have won. So it was an interesting debate. Anyway, this is me with Javier Iglesias from Real Estate Shoppe, and there's probably going to be another intro after this. All right, welcome back to Sponsors Corner here on 5 on the Floor. This is where we give our sponsors an opportunity to express their views on the Miami Heat, also get a chance to introduce themselves. We always appreciate our connection with our local sponsors. We're here with Javier Iglesias. You can find him at realestateshopfl.com. That's Real Estate Shop, 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we close this out. But we were supposed to do this last week, and then something happened. messaged you in the morning and said, there's going to be some news today. So maybe this isn't the best way to do it.
Tyler's injury.
Yeah, but you got it first. I told you before I tweeted it. Tyler, of course, going to be out for roughly 2 months after ankle surgery. So he's going to miss about the first month of the season. And he's part of this thing that we're going to do here today, but he's not the entire topic. So you sent something to me, and I want to repeat it slowly to everybody so that they can process what the teams are, because I was having trouble doing that. So this is a meme that came out. This was actually from Clutch Points. And it was who wins this all-Heat 7-game series. And actually, it's a good representative sample of the Heat history here. No Udonis Haslem, but there were a bunch of front court players. So team one, Javier, this is, and we're going to get your view on it, and then I'll throw this out there on our Discord and everywhere else. This is team one. They mixed up 10 players. Okay, so starting at center for team one is Alonzo Mourning. Chris Bosh at the 4. Sean's going to be upset that I give out positions. Alonzo Mourning at the 5. Chris Bosh at the 4. Jimmy Butler at the 3, unless he decides not to play. Dwayne Wade at the 2. And Goran Dragic at point. So I'll give you the lineup again. And then I want to get your view, before we get to the next lineup, on what you think the strengths and weaknesses are here. Zoe, Bosh, Butler, Wade, and Dragic.
I mean, my gut reaction is to go with this team all the way without, we haven't talked about the next team, but I mean, I'm a longtime Heat fan, so having like prime Zoe in this lineup, I think is key. And then also having Bosh to stretch the floor. But I guess the shooting's not great, right? With Zoe, Butler, and Wade in the mix.
Yeah, that would be my concern. It's not a great three-point shooting lineup. Dragic was a good three-point shooter. He wasn't a great three-point shooter. Bosh, of course, became a three-point shooter later in his career with the Heat. So there would be some spacing. Defensively, obviously, you're anchored by Zoe. Bosh would be shredding pick and rolls. Jimmy and Wade on the wings. You could get by with Goran's defense. So I feel like defensively – and then Jimmy and Dwayne, in terms of, I could see hit-ahead passes from one to the other. Not quite to the Wade LeBron degree, but to a certain extent. I don't think this team would play the only problem this team would have, I think, from a play style standpoint, and Wade and Dragic had when they played together, is Goran's going to want to play fast, and I don't see this as a team that's going to want to play fast. Dwayne, Jimmy, going to be sort of matchup hunting. Zoe gets the ball in the post. It's not coming out.
Yep.
And Bosh can play that way, but not necessarily. So this is a team that I feel like they're going to try to slow it down, and that's not really Goran's strength. So he's going to have to be a spot-up shooter in these situations. All right, let me give you the other team here, and then we will put these teams against each other. Shaq at center, Bam at the 4. Well, he'll be happy with that. He finally gets to play next to a true center.
Yeah.
LeBron at the 3. Tyler and Tim Hardaway in the backcourt. What would be your strengths and weaknesses for this particular group?
We should probably preface by saying this is all of these players are at the peak of their Heat powers, right?
Correct.
But
not from somewhere else, but
yeah.
for the Heat, they're at their best possible level. So we're looking at Hardaway, Herro, LeBron, Bam, and Shaq.
Yeah. So again, I go back to my love for Alonzo Mourning. I think primetime Heat Alonzo Mourning and primetime Heat Shaq is a very interesting matchup. Obviously, Shaq's got the size, but I mean, Zoe's going to blow by him in his prime. Shaq was very slow when he was in Miami.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy's going to have a feast matchup hunting here, except unless, LeBron's on him.
Well, yeah, hold on a second. Okay, so Jimmy's going to matchup hunt. He's going to try to get Tyler or Tim on him.
100%.
But I don't think this team's going to let him. I mean, they're gonna put LeBron or Bam on it. I mean, who are we saying? I mean, isn't the first option on the first team going to be Dwayne anyway?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the concern would be, some might argue with that, by the way, but I'm sorry, you're wrong. First option is going to be Dwayne.
Yeah.
But if you, I I mean, but who's going to guard Dwayne? I mean, I guess that's the problem, right? Is you're putting Tyler on Dwayne? Oof.
That's rough.
I mean, I think because you can't hide Tyler on Goran, obviously. Although you'd be more likely to do that, but then Timmy's got to guard Dwayne, and Tim on those knees defensively, they covered up for him.
That's not happening.
Quite a bit. I guess where I come down to on this is the advantage for this team is just the sheer physicality of Shaq and LeBron
and Bam.
Bam.
Yeah.
Now, but see, I don't know where Bam fits on this group offensively. Is he going to space? Because he's going to play off of Shaq. That doesn't feel.
Yeah, there's no space. It's
right?
just Tyler in the corner a bit, basically, but.
And Timmy shooting that knuckleball jumper from the top. But that would be my worry here. And then if you look at Bam, okay, so Bam's going to guard Bosh, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that I would like to see. I would have loved to have seen the two of them play together. I mean, the reality is, like, if you put Bosh on the second team instead of Bam playing off of Shaq, oh my God.
Yeah. I go back to, like, just like it was in the Big Three, I think Bosh is the key to Dwayne Wade's team, spreading the floor, keeping Bam away from the basket, even though you have Shaq down there.
Yeah.
Being able to shoot some threes when, let's be honest, Bam throws up some threes, but he's not as accurate as Bosh is, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, you hope he gets there, but that last 2 months of the season were promising. But yes, Bosh was an elite big man shooter, obviously. I guess I lean with the first team with you as well. I just watched LeBron in person from a floor seat for 4 years, and I guess Jimmy's going to take the assignment. I mean, Jimmy competes with him. Yeah. No question about that.
He's going to make it hard for him for sure. But yeah, we're talking about peak powers in the Heat, so we're talking about 2013 LeBron, right? So it's
2013 LeBron and maybe 2022 Jimmy or something along those lines.
That's a pretty disgusting LeBron.
Yes, no, it is. It is, and I'm just wondering, like, okay. Zoe's going to need help against Shaq when the ball goes into him, as great as Zoe is defensively. And I don't know that Bam can make him pay, but then what you're going to double Shaq, you're going to double LeBron. On the other side, the only guy I really see that requiring the double consistently is probably Dwayne, although I guess you could say Jimmy if he gets the ball in the post and he's attacking that way, and then Bosh is feeding off of that. Do you think – so you're leaning with team one. You're leaning with a team that includes Zoe, Bosh, Butler, Wade, and Dragic over the team that has Shaq, Bam, LeBron, Timmy, and Tyler. It was a 6-game series, a 7-game series?
7-game series.
All right, 7-game series, and then the MVP is who? 3?
Yeah, I mean, LeBron does owe him one, right?
That's true. Yeah, he definitely knows. 2008, 2009. All right, we owe you a little bit of time here in the last minute. We're going to put this up there. Real Estate Shop, Javier, Amanda, where does everybody find you?
So you guys can find us at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E. We do residential, commercial, rentals, property management. If it has to do with real estate, we can take care of it for you in South Florida. So reach out to us, 954-268-9812.
You know what? The
house at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor.
Yes, the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. And you know what? All the houses that you sell need a court. We need a court to settle this. We'll get all these guys over there. By the way, UD's going to be upset he's not on either of these teams. But he's the captain of both, I guess.
I know. I did put this into ChatGPT just because I thought it'd be interesting to see. And ChatGPT agreed with me on the Wade team. Very close, 7-game series. But it's one of those things that I would love to put like into NBA 2K and have run 1,000 simulations and see what comes up at the end, because I do think it's extremely close.
I think it's tight. Yeah, it's basically, if you just believe in LeBron wrecking everything, that's essentially the direction. The direction to go. All right, find him at realestateshopfl.com and having basketball debates everywhere. Appreciate it, Javier.
All right, man. Have a good one.